right, everybody. Welcome to the Salt and Pepper Podcast, episode 2. I am the co-host, your main man, the Chief Rock Uncle Freezy. And I am going to bring in our guy, the host, the creator, the inventor of everything podcast, Teddy. But he is joined by one of our very, 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 very good and great friends and people, even though he would not trade me the Washington Redskins running back at his brother's house, and I begged him for 3 hours.
Yes.
So introducing Teddy, that's our man, and he is joined by David. Dave, what's good, man?
Everything is good, man. Enjoying life, making the most of it.
Good, man. Good. It's good to see you, bro.
Good to see you as well.
Who's that person? Who's that person sitting beside you?
Was it John Riggins he wouldn't give you, or Terry Allen? Which one was it?
No, I think it was the tight end. I think it was Jordan Reed. You remember the tight end Jordan Reed?
Chris Cooley.
Yeah. Chris
I mean, at any rate, I do love that I look like David's son, and so
So if I reference Junior, that's what I'm talking
right.
about.
If we go into Big Enos and Little Enos from Smokey and the Bandit, Junior, shut up. So we can do whatever. So what's popping, Uncle Freezy?
So here's the thing. I understand that we have a lot of topics that we want to get to in this 3-part series of podcasts, right? One of the ones that intrigued me the most is the interracial friend. Or the racial friend. Let me say that. The racial friend in an interracial friendship. Right.
So can I ask a question? Does it mean one of our friends is interracial, like they're mixed, or does it mean
this relationship?
I get it. I'm just
I got the joke. I got it. I got the joke.
I'm ready today. But go ahead.
The reason why I ask is not because I want it to be a political topic. But I just wanted to address the homies, right? Like for instance, I know you guys don't do it, for a specific reason. But I have, believe it or not, as a black guy, I have other white friends, and they ask me questions like this, like, how come, certain black people are kind of guarded and tough to kind of make friends with or whatever. And they ask me questions like that, right? And I'm, I don't know what a specific answer is, because everything to me is P to P, person to person, right? I guess it's that person that's wanting to be friends with that person that may have an issue making friends. You guys ever?
That's a lot. So first, let me say this for the people who don't know us. David and I probably are two of the better people to ask about this, because we have lots of black friends.
Oh, so y'all have a note card. Y'all have the cliche note card right there by you.
We do. I was laughing about it. You said you had other white friends, and I'm just thinking you going, no, I got plenty of white friends. I got white friends. Right. So
I use that intentionally, by the way.
So Dave and I have a lot of experience in this region and this realm. So let me start with this. Yesterday, I saw a young black kid wearing an Austin Reeves jersey, and I knew we had hope in this world, because if anybody was going to wear an Austin Reeves jersey, it was not going to be a young black kid, right? It was going to be a young white kid. Fair?
Right.
But it was a young black kid wearing a black, I think it's the city version of Austin Reeves. I didn't know they sold Austin Reeves jersey, and I didn't know a black kid in Florence, South Carolina would have one. Yeah. So I think there's hope for all of us in all of this. And So a side joke. This is racial, so it should fit the mold, and you'll see
It should go over well on the internet.
the mold.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Philip has to do now. Philip goes to a white bread place, right? They wouldn't know
Like his
cool.
pops. Yeah, like his pops, right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they wouldn't know cool if they were smoking it. But at any rate, he, for a Spanish project, he's got to make flan, right? And it's spelled flan. And I said, Philip, I'll give you $100 if you do it in the shape of the Wu-Tang logo and you call it Wu-Tang flan and and take it there.
At least we laughed.
Right. At least, yeah, I mean, I'd be sitting in the principal's office, but I don't even think they'd get it. But at any rate, we might do Wu-Tang Clan forever.
Right.
So at any rate, that's me just making a stupid joke. So what? So your ultimate question is what? Because you said because you got some friends that ask you why do certain black folks do a thing. The first thing I would say is they don't have enough experience with black folks, or people of a different. Because race and culture aren't the same, but they are parallel, right?
They are parallel, right?
So David and I grew up largely going to school in a culture that wasn't ours.
We were a minority.
We were a vast minority, okay?
Right.
So I've said that me and Coco were tokens, and David can speak to his tokenism if he would like. But the folks that I say this to when we go back to our reunions and such, they rebut it and say, we're not tokens.
Right.
We're a part of it. So I think David and I growing up in this particular culture, while maintaining our own, right?
Right.
We weren't ever the guy that tried to be. We weren't Malibu's most wanted. So
we kept our identity.
We kept our identity. So we've spent a lot of time in locker rooms and on buses and in conversations and in dugouts and in relationships. So I think we bring in a tribal knowledge that if you haven't been, I won't say surrounded by it, but you've been at least in this particular culture. I think we don't need to ask certain questions because I think we at least have enough experience to know where certain things are, if that makes sense. Would you disagree with that, or do you feel like that's fair?
No, I do. To your point, one thing that I believe helped us as we're growing up is we were in a different environment than, frankly, most white people.
Yes.
Being in that place, we never said we have, quote, black friends. They were our friends. Yeah. This guy right up here is my friend.
Yeah.
We don't identify as a certain race, culture, whatever the case. This is my friend.
Right.
And this household we grew up in, the most eclectic friendship group you'd ever seen in your entire life. How is this possible? Being receptive and communicating is what it's all about. And I guess just curiosity, tell me, Uncle Free, what is your approach? What's your approach when you're asking that question? But how are you perceiving it?
Well, the way I received it, right, and the way that I projected are two different things, right? Because here's the thing: the way I received it, I was shocked when I heard it, right? I was shocked by hearing the thing, right now. But the way I projected as somebody that, like yourselves, grew up in a multicultural environments and things of that sort, I went through this stuff when I was young. Right. So now when it comes to making friends or whatever, there is no white person, Spanish person, black person, whatever it is. It's, hey, man, such and such is pretty cool, man. You know what I'm saying? Oh, it's stuff like that. You know what I mean? To me, because the three of us were basically indoctrinated to this thing at an early age of accepting people for who they are, where they are. Right. But others, there are others, whether they have whether it's well-intentioned and clumsy, or where they may be intimidated and restricted they ask this question because they do want to cross this line of, man, good people are good people. But in today, and I say today's environment, but what I really mean in the environment forever, right? In this forever environment that we're in, seeing friends of different ages, races, sexes, religious backgrounds, and things of that sort, it's odd seeing people like that together because I feel like we make it odd, right? I think
now, so let me say this. I don't want to make it out like there's just this seamless way we all navigate in and out, because we were always, that's a cool ass white boy right there.
You're right.
Or that dude plays good for a white guy.
Yeah.
Or it was always we were
hey, Uncle Freezy speaks pretty good for a black person.
You're articulate.
You're articulate for a black guy.
Mm-hmm.
So there's always that, right? Now, Dave and I spent a lot of years on basketball courts where we were pickup guys, and we were always the last two people picked. And I think the only reason they picked us because we were standing there and wouldn't leave. So
right.
there are hurdles, right? And there are things that I understand why people would make it awkward, because even for us who grew up within this, right? There have always been times where we were still the two white dudes or the white guy or the whatever, right? So that never changes. I think we get better along the way navigating it. And so the clumsy, well-intended person is the kind of person that is going to unknowingly ask the dumb question or say the wrong thing, right?
Right.
So like a lot of people, like, let's take the N-word out of it, right? Because if you don't know you can't use the N-word, then you probably aren't ready to have too much mixture of friends, right?
Right.
I know that, like, calling a woman a bitch is one thing, but I know from years in another culture that calling a dude a bitch is worse than calling a woman a bitch.
Right.
And so there are things that we pick up along the way from either riding on the bus or whatever it is that. But I'll say this: whether it's the black guy that wears the plaid shorts and the polo and he wears the Vans, or if it's the white kid that wears the Jordan hoodie and the basketball or whatever it is, whatever, whoever assimilates which way, whatever. It does take work at a minimum to not screw it up, right? But it also it takes effort, and I don't think anybody can say it's effortless to make it work, because since the dawn of man, you come from New York. How are the neighborhoods? How are they separated back?
It's the same. It's so for the record, I grew up like 8 minutes outside of Manhattan in New Jersey. Right.
Okay.
So, but just all the same, because it's the same group of people. It's just borders. But the thing is,
Greece, there's Harlem. So by nature, we're not supposed to, I don't want to say intertwine, but by nature we're clannish, right?
Right.
We're clannish. We even cling to
Wu-Tang Clan or the other clan? Which clan?
All of them. All of them. I'm not talking about the Ku Klux Klan. I ain't talking about that.
We're not talking about pillowcases.
I'm talking about
it's a joke, bro.
Irish hang with the Irish. The Greeks hang with the Greeks. It's culturalism or whatever. By nature, we go to people of the same ilk or the same kinship, right? And if you would go back to biblical days in the Tower of Babel, that was sort of a reckoning that we didn't speak, and from that we dispersed. But to make these different cultures work takes a lot of work. And I don't think it's always easy. Like, I just don't think it's seamless. And I think, especially today's people, I think we're too sensitive. And I think we don't know how to get. Well, I also think we make it harder than it is, but it is work. You got to be willing to take a leap. You also have to be willing to be wrong or understand that you didn't know what it was, and you also have to be willing to learn a way that's different than yours, and you have to be willing.
Well, you have to be receptive, and you also have to communicate.
Right.
If you don't mind, let me give you a quick anecdote to this. A couple of days ago, am I allowed to say businesses? Can we get some sponsorship out of this? There's a particular business that I frequent quite a bit. It's a sandwich shop.
Okay.
I go in with my Dodgers hat on. Most of the time, if I say, "Hey, what do you think about the Dodgers this year?" Oh, I don't know. I just wear the hat,
Right.
which is disappointing. So the guy working on my sandwich said, "The Dodgers spent a lot of money." I said, "Yes, they did." And you're going to tell me they're going to win a World Series, right? And we joked, and we had a little band. He told me that his grandparents pulled for the Braves, and he grew up with his grandparents, so he's a baseball fan. So I love baseball, man. So he talked about the Braves and their lineup, and we had a good conversation about it. And I said, "Man, I don't ever see you in here." He goes, "Yeah, I just started working. I usually work nights." I said, "Well, listen, man, I'll come if you don't mind. I'll come look for you." He goes, "Yeah, I'd love to." I said, "Thanks. My name's David. His name's Keon." So what did I just tell you about Keon?
Keon's black.
Yeah, but I didn't have to tell you that.
Right.
I just had a great conversation, and he brought up the fact, "Yeah, I know it's crazy, a young black kid watching baseball."
Right.
He said that himself, and I said, "Dude, just the fact that you're a baseball fan is more intriguing to me than anything."
Right. Yeah.
So it's about communication, and sometimes we do have preconceived ideas, and that's generally speaking, and dropping those preconceived ideas and just giving a person a chance to get to know them and talk to them. I made a new friend, and
Right.
Lord have mercy, baseball is the reason we brought up a conversation.
And I think that the important part of that is you were not looking for a specific type of friend.
Correct.
You made a friend organically.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the two things that Teddy said, I just want to say just real quick before Teddy goes. I'm gonna move out of the way, bro. But one thing you said, you mentioned boundaries, right? Remember you mentioned boundaries. I think there is a sense of preserve your culture element to it, whereas those of different cultures and backgrounds look to preserve their heritage and culture. And then there is also the thing of when you're younger, in my opinion, when you're younger, you're more open to whatever relationship comes about because you like to explore new things versus the older you get, the more likely you're likely to build more and more barriers. It's kind of like how we go places and the rich folks don't pay us any attention. Like how the rich folks drink their coffees in their Range Rovers, and though they will never rove a range in their life. You know what I'm saying? To me, it's that. Teddy, my bad. I didn't mean to cut you off, bro.
No. I also think if you don't embrace it while you're young, it's going to be harder to embrace it when you're older. Because so by whatever happenstance it was, I always had black friends, even when I didn't go to a predominantly black school.
Is it a comfort zone issue?
I'll be honest with you.
Generally speaking,
I'll be honest with you. I never had anybody tell me you can't be friends with the black kids.
Right. Okay.
Never had anybody go, this is taboo. You're not supposed to have black kids over at your house.
Right.
I know nobody ever, I don't want to get corny, but it was, we either vibed or we did, right?
Right.
we either had a thing or we didn't. And it wasn't till middle school and high school that it even was, it was brought up, right? And no one necessarily brought it up and go, hey, you got black friends, but it does trigger some things with folks. But I never knew that we weren't supposed to be friends, right? No one ever sat me down and explained, et cetera, et cetera. But I think if I look back to who was my first best friend, ironically, he's a guy that played for St. John's down your way before they combined the schools, and he was a superstar athlete that way. But my first friend was a black guy. And you're talking about 4th or 5th grade. Mm-hmm. So it was just I don't know how or why. But it was never. I didn't know you couldn't do it. Now, and I've seen it both ways. So in 6th grade, I was visiting a friend who's a prominent member of society now. He was then, but we were in 6th grade, and I went to his house as a 6th grader. We were going to 7th grade, and I didn't know I was not welcome in his neighborhood. But I found out because the people down the street were like, what's this white motherfucker doing here? And I'm like, he's talking about me? Yeah. And I'm like, and I'm in my head, I'm like, well, I'm the only one here. And I'm thinking, dude, I'm 12. Mm-hmm. I'm 12. I'm 12. How can I be a motherfucker of any kind?
Yeah.
I'm 12. I don't even know how to. I'm 12, brother. I'm not a threat to anybody. So that I think that might have been my first indoctrination to, the worlds are a little different. Mm-hmm. And you fast forward to. So my dad always coached most of my teams, right?
Right.
And he gave people rides, and he gave people rides to practice and from games and to games. And now we know that we weren't welcome in those neighborhoods, because I had a couple of similar events along the few years later, a couple years later, I had a couple of those same events where somebody would look in and go, I don't think you should go back there, buddy. Or they would tell the guy I was driving, we had to go to the park in one of the neighborhoods, and he looked at the black guy beside me and goes, I wouldn't take him down there if I were you. Right. So even though in Washington, D.C., a friend of ours, we were going to a Dead show at RFK Stadium, and I said, hey, man, I ran into him at summer school. I said, hey, man, I'm going to D.C. this weekend. If you want to go, you can ride with me, and I'll pay for everything. I just need you to navigate. And he goes, well, pick me up at my mom's house. It's a guy I played football with, baseball with. We went to school together. We graduated together, lifelong friends. So he went to Howard, okay? So we're riding through D.C., and he goes, well, take me to my apartment. And we go, and this was 1 or 2 in the morning in Midtown D.C., and an older gentleman looked in the car, looked at me, and told him, he goes, I don't know if I'd take him back there if I were you.
Right.
And so we got pulled over a bunch of times for being white dudes in black neighborhoods late. They thought we were buying drugs, obviously.
Right.
So it wasn't until later in life that the concept of you ain't supposed to be here or we ain't supposed to be together was introduced. I never understood it, but it is definitely a thing, right? But I think now today these kids are different, right? Do you think kids even see it differently today?
Personally, I don't like that. Let me see. Okay. Yeah, so personally, I think there are devices that tear down these pre-built walls.
Okay.
Right? Like social media. Right. Like so and things on television. Right. You see things more and more on television tearing down barriers and things like that. Now, with that said, it doesn't stop people from being protective of their heritage.
Mhm.
Right. And so if you ask me, you know, what is the main driver of these uncomfortable conversations that we have in the workplace and out and about race, it's because of these devices that we install, right? I don't know, no offense, Uncle Freezy, but I don't want my daughter dating a black guy. They just seem wild.
Hey, what did your grandpa tell you about the comb?
Oh
Tell
yeah,
that.
it wasn't even just him. It was like the entire family. They said, "Yo, if they can't use your comb, don't bring them home." Period. That
has always made me laugh.
Yo, and bro, and you would think that it would be like an old school Southern black person that moved to the city would say that just about white people.
Right.
I'm like, hey, but nah, it's about everybody that's non-black. If you're not black, then that was the thing. I was like, bro, bro, she Mexican. She white to me, bro.
So remember my thing about clanism. So you'll hear this story a million times. Remember, my parents were the first people to get married in the Greek church here, right? And they weren't going to marry them because my mom was not Greek. It was essentially like he was marrying a white girl. They weren't going to have it, right? I know that was a long time ago, but I don't think we're meant to be apart, but I think we use this term melting pot too liberally. I think we're more of a 7-layer dip.
Right.
Because melting pot means we melt and become homogenized, right? Well, the one drop rule, right? You're a pot of chocolate, and Dave drops some white chocolate in there. He's got handles like white chocolate,
yeah.
And I drop some whatever. That's a melting pot. So now we have a concoction of it. And we start to lose culturalism or identity. I think we try to force the melting in where things don't melt together. And we're not meant to melt together, meaning we're not all meant to like oregano on stuff. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. I think we're more of a 7-layer dip where you got, not to pick on the Mexicans, but you got your lettuce, your cheese, your nachos, your beef, your whatever, your peppers. Yes, you can eat them all together, but they don't lose their independent nature.
Right.
I think if we try to homogenize, now listen, I think there's a lot of stuff out there that's trying to homogenize everybody because it sells. Also, if you believe the media outlets and the social media outlets, we shouldn't be able to get along.
Right.
We should be forcing the way to the periphery. Oh, you can't be friends because of blah, blah, blah. I think all that's bull. But
can I offend you on that? Can I say something offensive to you on that?
Say that again.
May I say something offensive to you about that?
I don't get offended too easily.
Oh, I know. I know. I think what people tend to do is use certain devices to back their for instance, there are people on the internet that use the Bible to justify us being separate. Mm-hmm. Right? They use the Bible to justify us being separate. And as a reader of the Bible, like from cover to cover, I'll stop, get an understanding, pray on it, try to learn about certain things of that sort. Like if I get to a point where I don't understand it, I'll pray on it, ask for understanding from go to others and hold on, my dog. So I think people that don't read the Bible though will try to trigger somebody like myself that does read the Bible, right, and is a believer in God in Christ, to try to trigger me into a certain belief system because they know people like me generally are structured. Like we're not going to go out, live outside of a certain thing. So they know people like, for instance, it's easy to trigger, say, people in the church about a certain thing because they know those people are steadfast in a certain belief. And if you can get them to believe something, they're going to be unwavering. Right. It's like when you talk to me about gay people in the church, right? It triggers me in a way. Like, I don't care if people be gay, bro. I don't care. Like at the end of the day, when
Well,
it
your
comes
football
to
team just drafted a dude that wears nail polish and has the pink iPhone.
I mean, Wilson High School wears purple and gold, bro. Wilson High School wears purple and gold, bro. If nothing else screams Purple Rain. I mean, but my thing is,
First, let me say this. Name another school that from 1985 through the history of the next 2 millenniums that for homecoming we could have 2 homecoming themes every year, Purple Rain and Eye of the Tiger, and it wouldn't be lit as shit in 50 years from here to eternity. So that's what I'm going to say about that.
It don't matter, bro. I went to 4 different high schools, bro. It don't matter to me.
And none of them can touch Wilson High School.
Yeah,
you could bottle them up and change their colors to purple and silver. Oh wait, that's been done. That's been done already.
Yeah, the silver medalist. Yeah, I get it. Gold is first place, silver is second place. But my thing is, the point I was getting at is I think people use devices to trigger us to keep us separate. It's like in politics when you say stuff like, we're going to build a wall to keep a certain group of people out because they're bad. Meanwhile, crime rates in the cities that are already here, like Chicago, like New York, are bananas before people from the outside get here, right? Like inner city crime in Chicago is historically outrageous, right? And you're going to tell me
it's horrible.
Yeah, and so you're going to tell me that if we don't build a wall, the country is going to go to hell in a handbasket.
You already heard my hell in a handbasket theory then. So listen, I work with a bunch of I work in a super multicultural place, right? We have, as Joe Biden would say, many varieties of Hispanics. Okay? I'm just telling you it's the truth. I don't think they're the problem. You know what I mean? I think they're getting a bad rap on some of this. Right. I think we're blaming folks, but I do think so when Dave and I stumbled into this place that is, and I want to be respectful to it, okay, because it does a lot of good stuff for a lot of people, okay. When Dave and I stumbled into this place that is super ultra white bread, what we found out that we weren't even white enough to be there.
We were still black sheep.
Yeah, we were black sheep, and they didn't know we had black friends.
Right.
Until we and then once we found out we had black friends, my God.
Yeah,
oh my God, you don't even want to know. But I think what gets lost in all of this is the green to it. I think, okay, so my experience is there are black folks that aren't black enough for some parts of the community. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not black enough, right? Yeah.
Okay. So this again.
I've been called beige, bro. I've been called beige, like legit by a black person. I'm being called beige, bro.
Okay. I like your Butter Holt thing. That's the better.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, if you and I had a kid, you could call it butterscotch because But at any rate, but Dave and I, most of our lives, we haven't been white enough. Even now, I'm involved in this particular arena. You saw Phillips prom wear. We're just not white bread enough. But you know what's funny? None of the black folks I meet out in the wild that we have a conversation, they ever put me as being from Wilson. So I don't know. I don't know what I project to them, right? I must project some sort of white breadedness to them.
I guess you're right, because when I say I'm Wilson class of '88, sometimes you get looks like this.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm like, right? No, really.
So
and so just really quick for those that are watching that are not from this area, for those of you watching in Puerto Rico and Jamaica and other places that'll see these clips in this video.
Right.
Yeah. So Wilson High School is a historically predominant black high school, rich in tradition and community service, and they provide a lot of things on an athletic, political, and they basically they grind out great products to society is what they do at Wilson High School overall, and they take pride.
Like this right here.
Yeah, I don't know if David and I are any stars on anybody's.
Right, but let me ask Dave this, because I wanted to get David's opinion on this. Dave, am I wrong for assuming that one of the devices that people use in order to preserve a certain way of life is using devices like the Bible or war in a foreign country or a wall or the economy to keep people separate? Am I Henny Penny? Not Henny Penny, but what's the dude with The Sky Is Falling? Chicken Little. Yeah, am I Chicken Little on that, or is there some validity to it?
There's validity to it, because it's all about content. Let's take, for instance, when you mention the Bible. I've heard those. Well, this is what it says in the Bible.
He's a biblical scholar, y'all.
So,
he really is legitimately a biblical scholar.
Yeah.
Right.
So I said, well, you got to say, okay, where are you reading this? Who's the audience? What it's about? To what extent? So, hey, it has nothing to do with contemporary us. It has to do with an ethnic issue that came about 4,000 years ago. So you're taking something 4,000 years ago and trying to apply it to today? No, it doesn't work. Now, it works in your mind. His or her mind is bringing this up because that's what they've either been taught or what they believe. And a person's belief system is always going to be solid. And therefore, anything you look at or you think about, you smell, goes through, gets filtered through your belief system. So once a person creates a belief system for themselves, everything comes through that, and that's where out of this orifice comes that opinion of that idea. But I also want to circle back to kind of what's the juxtaposition of you're saying we're trying not to talk about race or culture in a sense, but at the same time, I feel like we're kind of getting a little away from what you're initially wanting to do. Is I still want to make sure I'm solid on our approach. I brought up the guy that I met at the sandwich shop because it was a communication process.
Right.
We found out about each other because of communication. And whether it's a white person coming to you and saying, hey, can I ask you a question? Or sometimes people don't mind offering you their opinion to begin with. I mean, just hey, here's what I think. Oh, thank you. Okay,
I like offering my opinion.
Yes. So I do want to make sure if at all possible, make sure we not necessarily answer the question, but get some direction on the question that you proposed, or we communicate. I do believe it's all about communication.
Okay.
I believe that once we start communicating, I've been around people that at first you're thinking, I don't know if I want to be around this person. But then once you start talking to them, you find out, I'm right. I don't want to be around this person. Or, okay, maybe there's some value here in this relationship and we can work on it or build on it.
Right.
So for me, it always goes back to value in a relationship, regardless of culture, race, ethnicity, whatever. What kind of value is that person adding to me, and what kind of value am I adding to that person?
Right.
So no, to answer your question fully, I do believe the devices you speak of are divisive devices that
I like
bring that up.
I like that.
You bring that up, and immediately, here's my belief about it, and immediately you've already created a division before you even have a chance to communicate and reconcile.
Okay, so why do we do it? Why do we purposefully look for divisive stuff or divisive devices, or why do we purposefully try to separate ourselves? And we're in a time and an environment where we're supposed to be sort of trying to unify. So do we want to be together?
Well, I think it goes back to what Free said just a few minutes ago, that it's a protection of heritage, it's a protection of race, it's a protection of culture. That I group my belief system, my culture, my environment, my education are variables that created a belief system. My experiences create this belief system for me. And so it's just intuitive that I'm going to protect whatever I believe in. And through this, and I'm just saying in general, I'm not just saying me or you, but I think people in general, that's an approach, and that's their stage to perform on, is, hey, this is how I'm approaching you through my belief system. So there's something to that.
I don't even remember what your original question was, if I can be honest.
And hey, not too. You got to think about our demographic. We're speaking from people who have grown up. We've got 40 plus years on this earth to go through experiences. So sometimes I have to be cognitive of the person who's talking to me or asking me a question or whatever. I got to realize this dude's 20 years old. They haven't even experienced life yet. This is where they are in life. And like what you said to begin with, meet them where they are.
Yeah.
The 70-year-old person who's already determined this is the way it is, and they're steadfast in their belief system. And it's not a matter of changing their mind. It's just a matter of recognizing, okay, do I want to associate with this person because I know where they believe?
You don't.
Right.
You don't. I can tell you don't.
But it is a matter of meeting a person where they are.
It's a matter of meeting a person where they are.
Say that again.
No, go ahead, bro.
No, I'm just rambling, dude. You got me thinking about all kind of stuff. So close us out on, are we headed in the right direction? Did we answer your question? Or I think the warlords or our overlords above us want us to be separated more than we necessarily need to be. But I think we allow them to do that because, to some of what y'all said, we're protective of our culture. If we let everybody in, you lose some of it's the homogenization I was talking about. Like, I've talked to a bunch of black women on the subject of the white woman at the cookout.
Right.
My experience with the people I've talked to is the black woman collective doesn't really like the white woman at the cookout and doesn't really appreciate her at the cookout. Now, that may not be every cookout, right? But I've gotten it from enough people that nobody wavered on they're not having sidebar conversations about her in the kitchen or at the group chat. You tell me if my sources are wrong on that.
Well, first, I think we should approach it as what it is. When they talk to you about the white person at the cookout, they're not actually talking about the cookout itself. It's a parable. Like, they're talking to you in a code.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the first thing that white people should understand with black people. We do that a lot. Like for instance, if somebody white brought something to the cookout or whatever, everybody at the cookout is not going to start fainting and falling out and all that stuff. If something looks like it's not tasty, they just won't touch it. Maybe they'll talk trash about it, they just won't touch. But the thing about that parable is this: when you are invited into a black space, don't come into that black space and try to take over and make it white. Right? That's what they're saying in this parable, right? Like, they're saying, like, yo, we feel comfortable enough to invite you into this black space where we're gonna put our guard down and embrace you, welcome you here, right? We're not saying because for the majority of black people, they can't control what's outside of their house, right? Like in the mainstream,
white folks aren't any better at controlling stuff out. Hell, I can't get these MFers in this house to take the trash out.
But like you said, you're not white. But like you said, you're not white enough. So what I'm talking about is the mainstream. I'm talking about the mainstream thing. And in a lot of mainstream places, black people can't control anything. They are the minority in that space. So when you invite a white person into a space where the blacks are the majority and they feel comfortable enough to have you there and they want you there, right? Probably wouldn't enjoy the event without having you there. Don't come into that space and turn it into a white space. Now you're not comfortable in the mainstream spaces and things of that sort. And now you can't even be comfortable in the black spaces where you can legit be, your normal self. And I know for those people tell me all the time, man, I keep it real, man. I'm black everywhere I go. No, not really.
Right.
Not really, because I've called customer service before. Trust me, I worked in a customer call center, and I've seen black people in that space, and them on the phone in customer service, and them in the break room are two different people, two different voices.
Well, and probably we all should be. But now listen, I hate to rebut what you're saying. None of what you said is what these women are telling me. They're not worried about the food. They're more viewing this person as an intruder or an interloper who is not trying to turn it white, but steal something from the black culture, namely the men, or they're trying to appropriate themselves into the black culture. Let me ask you this,
bro. Who invites somebody to the cookout that they don't feel safe around?
Yeah, but everybody doesn't invite everybody.
Well, I think to his point, I will say this. I saw an interview. I cannot remember the woman's name. It was a black lady with a professor, and her point, and they were talking about the shift in mainstream Hollywood, that you were beginning to see a whole lot of black and white couples, and the majority of them were black men with white women.
Yeah,
and she thought that was almost an attack on her race because she wants to know, hey, why can't a black man be with a black woman? What's it got to be with? Does that mean you should step up to have a white woman? So that's the approach she was taking, and I think I'm just asking out loud. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
That's what they were. They took it as a slight. Now let me say this,
and not saying I agree with or disagree with, but that's where and again,
that's their feeling. That's where they are.
I just want to see what someone else thinks about it.
Everybody that gets invited places isn't welcome. Because I know for a fact when people see Coco pull up, they're like, okay. And then they see me get out the car, they're like, shit. Brought his monkey ass again.
Yeah.
So I want everybody that gets, because Coco drags me up everywhere, and I know damn well everybody rather see her than me. So I know that.
No, I understand that. What I'm doing is generalizing though, because that's one of those things.
Your wife's in the background going, "Hell yeah, brother!"
yeah, and not to get too political, but as blacks, we don't necessarily have a lot of safe spaces, right? And then there are people that represent us in these safe spaces that look like buffoons. Right, and people will. All
the white folks are sophisticated. Let me tell you.
But I was gonna ask you about that side because I can't necessarily speak to that. But I know as somebody as a black man in my 50s, when I see certain black men in their 50s like sagging their pants and are on these social media sites, throwing the N-word around and saying and they have like $400,000 worth of jewelry on their neck, but their mom's house is in foreclosure. Like these type of things representing a certain type of male, right? It makes people, when they see me now, like I get asked all the time as a very tall and a very big person, I get asked a lot, hey man, you ever played sports? And my thing is, why would you ask a black person that's very tall and very big if they ever played sports? Is that like a general question, like you didn't color notwithstanding, or is it one of those things? It's like a stereotype, like
But
oh,
in fairness, you do make a living talking about tall black folks playing a sport.
right.
No, nobody ever asked me if I play a sport. They look at my fat.
It's like, what are you doing
right,
here?
my fat ass.
Right.
They're like, bro, you get back over there. You
Well, that's why you got picked last all the time.
Hey, trust me, ain't nobody asking me if I play. I would kill or die if somebody goes, "Hey, did you play sports?" Yeah. I will tell you this: that we were at the condo in Myrtle Beach a couple years ago. It was Philly and white red, and it was me, Philly, and one of his buddies, who's one of his football buddies, and some people down at the other end of the pool, and we were playing some sort of throw. I'm the quarterback, the dads or whoever are the DBs, and there's one receiver trying to get in through. Now, listen, let's say this. Before I got old and David beat my shoulder up, I had a pretty good arm. I could throw it where I wanted to throw it, okay? And I was throwing lasers in this pool, wet, and I had rushers and everything. So I'm just saying. And one of the dads, who was a Marine, by the way, comes up afterwards, and we're just shooting the breeze, and he goes, "You had to have been a quarterback in high school, didn't you?" And I'm like, "I'm out, everybody."
You can take me now.
Bury
me in this outfit that I have on.
I'm the one with the poke high 4 touchdown in a game jersey.
Uncle Rico, no,
Uncle Rico. I was like, yeah, if they'd have put me in, we'd have won state. So, yeah, but every tall person gets that, right? I've heard tall person after tall person after tall person get mad to go, "I bet you play basketball, don't you?"
Yeah.
And but I understand what you're saying is that, again, it goes back to what we were talking about a few minutes ago.
No, it is stereotyping. For sure, it is stereotyping.
Yeah, because, hey, you must have played this or done this because my belief thinks that you did. Right. But also something you mentioned earlier, something to think about. Let's use the Bible in this case. The Apostle Paul says, "When I'm with the Jews, I'm a Jew. When I'm with the Romans, I'm a Roman. When I'm with," and he labeled and listed several people. What he was saying was, hey, look, across the board, we look different, we act different, but I can still be with you at the same time and be a part of where you are. Again, people like to say, Jesus, as a reminder, he wasn't going to churches and hanging out. Who was he hanging out with?
Now listen, Jesus was a man of the people.
Right.
Jesus
he
was
hanging
a man
out
of the
because
people.
he had a mission and he had a purpose. And I say that because I hear people say, well, he didn't partake. No, he didn't, but he had to be in that environment to reach and be with them.
Right.
So, he doesn't have to necessarily partake in the, quote, culture or the issues, but he has to be around them and be with them. And just the same for us. There's places I love going to the gym. I know it doesn't look like it, but I love going to the gym.
He's strong as an ox.
And I love the gym culture. There are people at the gym that I talked to for the last 7 years. I have no idea what their name is. They come up to me on the streets and start talking.
That's why y'all are still friends.
And I have no idea.
Because you don't know anything about them.
But that's it. You get a microcosm of who they are because you're only around them for a few minutes here and there. But anyway, to your point though, yes, we're speaking on devices and things of that nature, and I think sometimes we start chasing the rabbits. But coming back to the communication effort on both parts. When you mention here's a black man in his 50s, you know what I first thought? It's a maturity thing.
Yeah.
Yes, I think it's a maturity issue. I don't look at it like a race thing. My first thought was, well, you're acting like that because somewhere along the line you quit growing your mind and you think this is the way to reach someone or to approach someone. And you know what? To be fair, it might work for him. It might work for him or her or whoever.
Also,
And I think Teddy meant that right there, Ted, it can't be an icebreaker, bro. Remember the point that I brought up about the clumsy way we stumble about friendships and things of that sort? To me, that's a clumsy way of making new friends. Right.
And so I had a clumsy icebreaker thing that I wanted to just bring out, okay? And I'm not justifying it or rationalizing, but so where I work, specifically in the office where I work, the one little office where
don't say their name, no, because I don't want
No. Specifically the office where I work, we have two young folks that work there. Both are Mexican. Okay, both sets of parents are from Mexico. The two kids are from here, but they're Mexican. Now, more than a couple of times they've had, and it's been older white folks that have come in, and the older white folks have clumsily alluded to their Mexican heritage, not in a disparaging way, or they would say, I got a friend who's Mexican, or I used to have a friend who was Mexican, whatever. And you could hear the people stumbling, right? You could hear them awkwardly trying to break the ice or have some sort of common ground, or I don't know what they were trying to do. But you never got anything from the tone or anything. They were trying to disparage these folks. But more than a few times, I would hear the two young people go, I can't believe these white people were trying to blah, 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 blah. And so whatever it was, it didn't work. Whatever it was on multiple occasions could it be generational? Absolutely could be generational.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know, because I think we don't know how to break the ice, right? We also we've created 3 generations of misanthropes, right? We got all these misanthropic people that can't articulate a sentence, and anybody under 22 or 22 and down, they literally can't talk to you unless they smoked 4 bowls of weed. And even then they're like, oh my God, I got anxiety, I can't talk to them. I'm like, well, motherfucker, stay home.
Right.
But,
well, yeah.
But so people have awkward interactions, and like you don't, because you're a good talker, right? You're fast, you're funny, you got all that stuff like that. You got the thing, right?
I'm the 5th member of the 4 Horsemen, bro.
Huh?
I'm the 5th member of the 4 Horsemen. I just want to let you know that.
Listen.
David, look.
You can sell that to somebody else. Well, then who's the nature boy?
I'm the 5th member
I'm
of
the
the
nature
4
boy.
Horsemen.
I at least want to be the nature boy. No, you're not Sid Vicious of the 4 Horsemen. You're at least Barry Windham of the 4 Horsemen.
Oh,
that everybody would take as the member of the 4. I mean, you could be Lex Luger. He's Lex Luger. No, David's cooler than Lex Luger. But like, everybody don't know how to break the ice. You know what I mean? Everybody don't know how to talk to people. I mean, everybody.
Big dog. Sometimes, I'm not gonna lie to you. Sometimes the ice doesn't need to be broken. Sometimes we need to let the ice. Sometimes we need to let the ice melt, bro, organically. Right, organically, like what David said in the interaction when he was at the spot and he met a person younger than him. Instead of breaking it, how about letting it happen? How about we become friends over time as opposed to being friends this moment? Right? Like if I meet you at 6 o'clock, I have to follow you on all your social media stuff by 7 o'clock. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Oh, can I say something? I have learned you don't need to check everybody you deal with out on social media. Because listen, it's going to change your interaction with them.
Yes.
You're not going to look at them the same, good, bad, or ugly. You don't need to go back and look up everybody you deal with, because if you do, you may not want to deal with them again.
Right.
But let me say something before, because I got this one in the chamber. For the people who don't know, Uncle Freezy has a long athletic history. He's played a lot of diverse sports. He's been an athlete his whole life. So don't let him act like he's not an athlete. But this is a funny story.
Uncle Rico.
I'm not a tall athlete. In fact, I might not even be an athlete. But I have played 2v2 with Uncle Freezy on my team. Now, Uncle Freezy is a classically trained basketball player who is significantly taller than me.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough? That mug wouldn't rebound if his damn life depended on it. He had my little candy ass down there rebounding. I'm like his damn girlfriend on a first date. Yo, you want to rebound for me? And I'm passing out threes to him.
I was going to ask, is he passing?
No, he's at the 3-point line. Hit me, baby. Hit me, baby. I'm like his damn 10th grade girlfriend rebounding.
Hey,
for
Rodney,
him.
get underneath
Right.
there.
I'm rebounding, kicking him out in the threes. So don't let Uncle Freezy tell you he doesn't play sports, but I can tell you this: he don't rebound.
No, I ain't. No.
I didn't know if it was lead paint that he was allergic to, if that's what was going on down there. But dude wasn't getting no 3-second call. I can promise y'all that.
No, not at all. Not at all. But I also just wanted to say this too to everybody watching. My view and my stance is not from a anti-relationship thing. My thing is I'm pro everybody getting along, right? But over the years though, I have had interactions where I've been rebuffed and pushed back, not because I had been an aggressor, but because of people in their reservations, right? Like, you know, hey man, it's all bro. For instance, I like to play golf, right? I like to play golf, but I can't play golf with a certain group of people at certain places because they don't want to play golf with Uncle Freezy at certain places. And this is 2024, and you would think, you know, hey man, everybody, you know, come in, everybody get along, but there are certain places that you still encounter certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a sign on a door like people of color stay out. And David, listen, Ted told me use the phrase people of color about a month ago, and I'm still offended by it, bro. I'm still
for the record, he's been offended by it, and I've talked to him 3 times since then, and he's used people of color about 10 times in a free form conversation.
Yeah,
and
just to remind everybody that people of color is not what you call people that are different. You know what I'm saying? I mean, at some point, and we're going to be like,
I did not call him a people of color.
No, he did not.
I asked him his feelings on the term people of color. I did not call him or insinuate anybody was people of color.
Of course
I heard it at a diversity and inclusion seminar, and I asked him about it. So I don't want anybody to go, Teddy.
He made up this term. No, he didn't.
Yeah. So I did not reference him. I asked his opinion, and he said, well, I think it's stupid, so I've not used it. Somebody else has used it about 27 times since then. So
I was going to use it 30 more times, bro.
Stuff.
It's a full clip. You gotta beat a dead horse in that sense. But no, but all jokes aside, I want to say this thing about people that are watching this around the world. You know, you can't, you know, basically people on YouTube that'll find this, they'll watch it from anywhere in the world, anywhere in the universe or whatever. And we appreciate y'all. If y'all have stayed with us this long, you know, in the video, man, we'd appreciate it if y'all hit the like button, consider subscribing to the channel. Turn your notifications on so that anytime the Salt and Pepper podcast puts out another episode, or when Teddy Dust starts cranking out more content, you'll be aware and you'll be able to watch it at your leisure. But the point that I'm getting at is not an anti-white thing or an anti-black thing. My thing is pro mixing, right? And I know when people hear the word mix, they immediately want to hit the brake, like, hey, wait a minute, what are you talking about? What I'm saying is
Coco just ran out of here because she's almost full-blooded Irish, Coco just ran out of here storming. You calling people mixed?
Yeah, my point is good people of all heights and weights and ages and sexes and races and social economic standing should mix with others like that and spread it. Like, there's nothing wrong with people that are different, hanging out with people that are different and sharing the goodness of it. As a matter of fact, people in general, and I'll generalize on this, right? People in general like things that are different and exotic. They just do, because it's different, it's intriguing, right? It's the reason why Teddy likes the Lakers, because they're different, right? They're not a winner. They wear weird uniforms and all that stuff, and he's kind of attracted to it, right? It's the reason why when you see the black person with gray or green eyes, you're intrigued by it. When you see the black person with blonde or light hair or different textures of hair, people are intrigued by it. It's like seeing, when David mentioned the mixed couples in the television ads, the commercials, and in the movies and such, people see it and it looks different. People are intrigued by it. So what I'm saying is I'm not anti anything good. Like, I'm not anti that. What I would like to do, though, is encourage the conversations at home. When you guys finish watching this video, I encourage you guys to continue the conversation amongst yourselves, educate yourselves, maybe watch this video again, maybe use it as a reference, about the things that are as simple as people of different backgrounds coming together and just talking, right? Becoming friends, things of that sort.
And it's all about making yourself a well-rounded person as well. Look, being around different cultures and different races and ethnicities and what have you, and learning from it makes you a well-rounded person and gives you the knowledge that you need. I think a lot of it goes back to what we're ignorance. If a person comes up to me and says, "Hey, I see you have black friends. How do you do it?" Well, to me, that's ignorance.
Right.
And I'm not necessarily ignorance purposefully, but because I just don't know. I just don't know how to do that, how you do that. And again, for me, it goes beyond looking at a person's skin color. I'm just thinking, adding value. Can this person, how do I click out? Even as we're talking through this conversation, I'm thinking, well, how do we become friends? How do we become friends? How did you become friends with us?
Right.
Look at that experience. And sometimes if you have to go back to that, and
I forced an icebreaker on him.
oh, did you?
I did. I went up to his cue. Okay.
All right.
Go ahead. I'll tell you.
No. But that's it though. You go ahead and tell. How did you guys meet?
Man, it was yeah.
Right.
I met you through your brother, and I was mad at your brother because his fantasy football, that he had too many rules. And he wanted to micromanage everything.
No,
wait,
not our guy.
Hold up, no, this is the story. So
Okay.
I got mad with your brother,
right?
Because he was managing everything. It was a salary cap. Everything was so, and I was like, "You are sucking the fun out of this." I said, "It's called fantasy football."
Right.
I'm like, in my fantasies, I'm thin, and at this time I was thin. By the way, I was in shape. I in my fantasies, everything's available. In your fantasy league, nothing's available.
Right.
Stuff I can't afford is not fantasy.
Right.
And then I got mad and I started my own fantasy league. And the dude we were working for goes, "You see that dude over there?" And that was the dude. He goes, "He likes football. Go see if he is interested." And so I go to his queue. Now, I don't know his name or anything. I'm like, "Hey, dude, you want to do fantasy football?" And he turned around.
And all he heard was do a fantasy.
Yeah, he's like, and so he was like, "Yeah." But for the record, the artificial icebreaker is how I met the dude that met him, because his wife told me, "Well, my husband likes to do fantasy football. You may want to talk to him, but he would never come up to you and talk to you." And I go grab him in the hall. I go, "Hey, you like football?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Good. You want to be in a fantasy football league?" "I don't know." And so me forcing icebreakers on all of y'all, that's why we're here, to I don't want to hear. But at any rate, I think, listen, I think we make this too hard, man. I think.
So let me interject just a tad bit. So the thing is with that is it wasn't just a fantasy football thing. What happened is you had a reputation for being that guy that could speak to anybody on their level, meet them at the place that they are. Right. And I'm not saying
not
going
on the bathroom wall, but that's a story. Right. That's a story for another day.
Right. Yeah. Basically, what I'm saying is basically you were the guy that was open to talking to anybody, and they may or may not have known about your background, maybe coming from, I'm saying, like your upbringing or things of that sort. They saw you, well, and I'm saying today, but I mean on that day that they met you or whatever, they just knew that you were different, right? It's the same thing, like, and same thing with David, same thing with myself, and others that have a similar background. People feel safe speaking to us because we could speak to them where they are, right? Versus those that were in that same building with us. They didn't enjoy talking to everybody. They only spoke to people. It was all about business. Even if they wanted to speak to them on a personal level, they couldn't, because and trust me, I know, because I got about 30 or 40 of those weird interactions a month, right? Like people were like, hey, Ken, listen, I heard you could really swing that thing. And I'm like, okay, this is odd. You know what I'm saying? They're like talking about, I'm like, what are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? It's like the odd icebreaker, right?
On the bathroom wall, but that's
yeah. But you see how things get odd and awkward, right? Like how like something so innocent can get turned into something bizarre, right? But when I met Ted said something to me, I said something back. That was it. And maybe the timing was right. Maybe he needed somebody, and maybe Teddy at that time needed a little brother type of person in his life that would listen to him, like listen to what Ted has to say, instead of thinking like, man, Ted's always talking. Maybe he needed somebody that would listen to him, right? Maybe he needed somebody that would push back on him, like, no, man, that's stupid, right? Maybe he needed that.
You're giving me a lot more credit than I deserve in that interaction. I needed a dude who was willing to do fantasy football. I had no idea that you had the layers and levels, and I didn't know you were a Renaissance man. I didn't know that we would forge a 24 year thing, right?
Right.
So
actually, in our first interaction, I was coming over here, and you were telling me you got to meet this guy. I think we called him Free.
Right.
I've always called you Free.
Yeah.
And you said something to the effect of it's a Renaissance man. And well, I think we started talking fantasy football, but our conversations always ventured off into deeper waters than just fantasy. Not that fantasy football is not deep.
Not the fantasy football.
We don't want to lose our fantasy football audience.
Right. But no, that was just pure luck, and I struck gold on that because, well, at any rate, I'm just making a joke that. Now, I'll say this as a person who is an overtalker and a loudmouth overtalker. I didn't know when I was young that it was too much for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I know it is now. I still overtalk everybody, but I'm aware of it now.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I don't want to overtalk you on that, but my final thing on the race stuff, I just don't think it's that hard. I think we make it a lot harder than it needs to be, and I just don't think. I think yes, it's education, and yes, it's all of that, but it still comes back to the golden rule. You treat each other the way you want to be treated, and it's not that complicated to get along.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that complicated to get along.
If you want to get along, it's
But
not
we don't always want to get along. So that's a whole nother segment of why we don't always want to get along. But I think we should mix ideas and cultures and everything, because there's no one way to solve anything, and there's no one way of thinking or doing things. What if the only chicken, and I don't mean to bring fried chicken into a racial thing, okay? What if the only fried chicken reference we had was KFC? What if we didn't have Yogi Bear's fried chicken?
Mm-hmm.
Or what if we didn't have
Maryland fried chicken
or Maryland fried chicken? By the way, the Food Lion here in East Florence probably has the best fried chicken of everybody, but I'm just going to throw that out somewhere else. But what if all we knew was Kentucky Fried Chicken?
Mm-hmm.
And Dave, for the record, I put on my COVID suit and went and grabbed Teddy chicken from that Food Lion when COVID was happening. Just got I got all dressed up in my
They thought I was dead. They come over. They hadn't known anybody had COVID yet. So I'm getting texts from him and call, and they come bring chicken, and we sit out there on the swings and everything. Like they were like in the yard across the street. You okay over there?
Actually, we were checking on Nicole and that dude that stayed with her.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. They're like, come on, get you some chicken, girl. Get you some chicken, girl. And I'm like, you better say that breast for me. But anyway, I'm just saying that Food Lion's got the best fried chicken. But again, there's nothing wrong with Kentucky Fried Chicken. It's fine. I don't know anybody who doesn't like Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Right.
But
right.
I don't think that's the only way to make fried chicken. And I'm glad we have other options. I don't think as misguided as your sports fanhood is, teams like the Lakers need teams like the Knicks, because we can't beat Boston every time.
Right.
True indeed.
Who else are we going to send our players we don't want anymore to help y'all with, or our coaches that we don't want anymore to help somebody? What are we going to do? We got to have a thrift store.
I forget where the salvage yard. Right. I keep forgetting. But I have one question before we get out of here, gents, and it's a deep question. I don't want you to get deep though. I want to save some of this for episode 3 whenever we get to it.
All right.
Right. How valuable is a real, honest, and true friendship?
Well, we're going on 40. I mean, think about
40 years.
40 plus years.
I think it is more valuable the older you get.
True.
Okay.
And I'll save the rest of the commentary. I've always valued y'all. I've always valued friendships, both casual and in depth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And deep friendships. But I think now, as we're all, to use one of your golf references, I know I'm on the back nine. Y'all may not feel like y'all are on the back nine, but y'all are close to the back nine. If you're not already on the back nine, I'm probably on hole 14, 15. The more my odometer goes, the more valuable these friendships are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm just hoping that we're Subarus and not Fords.
Well, I've got the haircut.
Okay, that's what
I've got the lesbian haircut. So
yeah. So
Nicole made me cut my hair from Moondoggie because she's like, I don't like it. And I'm like, well, I like Moondoggie. Well, I don't like Moondoggie. So I went and I told the lady at the thing. She said, what do you want? I said, give me the gentrification haircut.
Right.
She looked at me like, what are you talking about? Gentrification.
Give me the Rachel Maddow.
No, I want a bunch of unrecognized and unwelcome whites. And she's like, I got you. But then I thought I was telling Nicole, I was like, I got a lesbian haircut, and I didn't even mean to until I took Coco to get her haircut, and there was a real live OG lesbian getting a haircut in front of me. I'm talking about the jean shorts, the belt buckle that you said, or with the old school Skechers, not like your boy Julius Randle's. I'm talking about, remember them early Skechers?
Yeah.
And she had like the sergeant or the staff sergeant gunny highway. She had the jar head cut, and she walked by and I nodded, and she gave me the nod of approval, and I felt like I made it.
And
like,
you'll take acceptance.
So
anyway.
we're Subarus, baby. We are Subarus.
Right. Well, I want to thank everybody again. Thank y'all for watching the Salt and Pepper podcast. This is episode 2. So episode 1 is available on Teddy Dust on YouTube. It's also available on Vibes and Stuff on YouTube. We want to thank our special guest, David, for coming through and hanging out with us. David, of course, you're welcome at any time, right? And Teddy and David are going to do some things in the future. We'll post that stuff so you'll be aware and know where to find that stuff as soon as it drops. So you'll be able to engage in the conversation and such, right? Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel that you see this on. And if you're watching this on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, be sure to follow wherever you see this at. And then that way it'll encourage us to do more and to provide more conversations about a wide range of topics that are important to you guys. Again, I'm Uncle Freezy. That's Teddy. That's David. Thank y'all for coming through and hanging out with us. We're going to get out of here, y'all. Peace.